So for years, those of you who have attended our State of the Union event will know that I talked a lot about the contribution that adding the rising emerging market populations to the global economy would have. We postulated that you'd see higher growth, you'd see lower inflation, and you'd see higher asset prices worldwide. And that has been the case. Nevertheless, as we look out into the coming decades, the benefits that we receive from adding those emerging market populations will diminish, which begs the question, where is our next growth propulsion system going to come from? Well, I don't know if you've noticed this, but somehow technology and AI has infiltrated our lives. We have all these virtual assistants who are all female, right? Have you noticed that? A lot of talk in the press about that recently. That may be sexist. A lot of isists out there. Self-driving cars may be on the horizon. We have 2 of these systems in our home. Please see us after if you'd like to get any information on having a robot do your vacuuming. We've seen virtual reality, and I use this all the time back and forth to Nashville. This is the Waze system, tells you where the cops are. I recommend it highly. So we're surrounded by all of this technology, and really the technology does present the opportunity to overcome perhaps this demographic drag, as we go into the future. So the narratives, however, around technology have gotten pretty divided, right? You have some who say that the future will be apocalyptic, and then you have some who say the future will be divine. So the question is, which is it? And we're going to answer that question. But first, let's figure out how we got here. So computers have gotten much stronger, much faster, with much more memory power. So we've seen this exponential growth in computing power. Add to that this huge treasure trove of data for the computers to chew on, and they do chew on it. So they're listening in that little Alexa device in your house, and they're gathering all this data, and they're looking for patterns, and we finally gotten to the point where they can actually learn a little bit on their own. However, when we talk about artificial intelligence, I think it connotes this sort of superhuman intelligence. Well, in reality, there are 2 types of artificial intelligence. The first is really task-oriented. In 1997, the IBM computer defeated noted chess champion Kasparov, and everybody said computers are smarter than us. In 2016, Google actually out-defeated Lee Sedol in Go, which is like chess on steroids. Just recently, a computer won a game of Texas Hold'em, and all that's very exciting, but those are all tasks. What those computers can't do is get up, drive a car while trading in Mandarin, write poetry, and avoid bumping into stuff. And so that kind of general intelligence is known as strong AI. And we have made great progress in terms of the intelligence of machines, from the iPad 4 to the PlayStation 4. IBM Watson is pretty amazing, but the reality is we're still not yet to the level of a rat brain. And to get to the level of a human brain, computers are going to have to get 100,000 times better. So pat yourselves on the back. You are very, very, very intelligent creatures. Now, that doesn't mean computers haven't become much more useful. So there's a lot of information out there today on what percentage of your jobs computers can do. Most recent studies have said about 40% of your job they can do. Now, the good news is only 5% of the occupations out there can really be completely automated out of existence. So this fear that the robots are going to take your jobs, I'm not sure I'm there yet. However, 60% of occupations have at least 30% of their activities that are 100% automatable. So computers can be very useful to us. Now, for those of you who are worried that we're going to be replaced by machines, please don't be Malthusian. You may remember Thomas Malthus, great economist, who asserted that if the population kept growing, we were just going to run out of food and all die. That was a bad theory. If you go back and apply that logic to 1840, more than 60% of us were out there, sowing the fields in agriculture. There are less than 4% of us doing that today. Over that time period, the rest of the economy went through a manufacturing age, it went through a retail age, a services. There have been plenty of jobs created, even though we've completely changed the nature of our economy. So relax. We are not going to run out of jobs. What you should be worried about is that we are running out of workers. So this is a population curve that asks the question, when are we going to run out, or when is the global number of employees on the planet going to peak? Actually, in Germany, Japan, Italy, and Russia, they have peaked in terms of total number of employees. The U.S. is not on this list. I don't want to make a political comment, but that's because we have robust immigration. About 1 million people a year come into the U.S. But China's employment numbers are scheduled to peak in 2024, and then you can see Brazil, even India out at 2061, scheduled to peak. So the global workforce is diminishing. Just to put numbers on that, over the last 50 years, the global workforce has grown 1.7% on an annualized basis. Over the next 50 years, the workforce is projected to grow by only 0.1%. Now, economic growth is the combination of workers and productivity. So if we project forward productivity over the next 50 years, equivalent to the productivity of the last 50 years, then the global economy over the next 50 years will slow basically by 50%. That's a level that we will all feel. However, there's good news, which is we may be on the cusp of a big technological breakthrough. And in the past, when we look at these revolutions in technology, they've added significantly to productivity growth. So by deploying the steam engine between 1850 and 1910, we boosted productivity by 0.3%. When we added the first phase of industrial robots in the 90s into the mid-2000s, they added 0.4%. When we added IT into the system, it actually added about 0.6% to productivity. And if we integrate all of the automation tools available to us today and become early adopters, then it's possible we could boost, because of the massive scale of this convergent productivity, by about 1.4% annualized. Now the question is, how do you integrate this automation? Well, if we segregate tasks down, and this study looked at 802 different tasks, and basically segregated them down across 7 activity types and said what could be automated and what cannot be automated. So I'll pick on food services to begin with. So let's take a McDonald's. We'll use that as our example. So in terms of a task that can or cannot be automated, you really do need a manager at McDonald's, somebody looking over the activities. There's not much expertise required in a McDonald's, but somebody's got to know something, and the machines aren't right for that. There's a lot of interface at a McDonald's. Do you really need somebody taking your order, or can you key that into an iPad? Well, there's something we could probably automate. In terms of unpredictable physical activity, hard to automate cleaning up the tables and taking out the trash and doing all that stuff. But on the data collection, we can also do that in the iPad. We can process the data in the iPad. And then most of what happens in a McDonald's is pretty predictable physical activity. You take the all-beef patty, the special sauce, the lettuce, cheese, the pickles, onions, you do the sesame seed bun, and you push it off. So probably within a McDonald's, 73% of the activities can be automated. So McDonald's is going to look very different probably 10 years from now. Now, let's apply that to Waddell and Associates. So, why are y'all laughing? We're not making burgers. So when it comes to Waddell and Associates, according to this study, about 43% of what happens at W&A can be automated. All right. What can't be automated is the management. Thank God. The expertise cannot be automated. You can't take trips, long history of experience and intelligence and somehow turn that into an algorithm that's going to solve your problems. So that requires a person. In terms of interface, computers are still not capable of talking you off a ledge or helping you make better decisions. And so the activities that require the man are largely the activities at WNA. But when you get into collecting data, processing data, we don't do a lot of physical calisthenics at WNA, but we do a lot of data processing, et cetera. That is ripe and low-hanging fruit for